and today is Saturday, January 11th, and we're starting at 11. It's 11:06 right now, and I was just joking with the ladies that are on that I usually start very punctually, but I was trying to give some leeway for people that are new to come in and get their way around Zoom. So that being said, I hope everybody has their Hello 2020 workbook. We're going to be working through this workbook because the questions that are here are kind of strategically placed to help you guys really, whenever I ask these big questions, and those of you that work with me know this, and so hopefully this really kind of triggered some things. Whenever you ask those questions, if you're being honest, I just got chills. If you're being completely honest with yourself, you're going to reveal whatever your blocks are, whatever your limiting beliefs are, and whatever is really truly holding you back. So that being said, that's why we're going to work through the workbook. You didn't get the book. You know what, can you just take questions? It was in the email, and it was the very last email that was sent out on the 12 gifts of Christmas.
I did not get that email.
Okay, I'll get the link really quick. Is everybody on a computer?
But I can just take the questions down, and then if I get it, I'll print it up and then, go through it.
Okay. Yeah, I can get it for you. And okay. Let me see, because I actually made a Hello 2020 folder because there was something with the way that my, I'm new, I've been using Active Campaign, but I'm still not very good at it. And so there was some issues with me getting everybody the email out. So there's a Google Drive link, and you can grab that from there really quick. One thing I forgot, you guys, I need tissues. I'll be right back. Okay, I apologize for that. My allergies, I think, are what's going on in here. New cleaning stuff, probably. So, okay, I'm not sure who that is. The Z982. Who is that? Is that Joy Dawn? No, who is that? Can you type in your name? And I can. Okay, do you message me on Facebook? And I will drop the link in your Facebook. Okay, I'll drop it to you right now because we were just chatting a minute ago. Okay, so the one big theme that we've been having for this year, you guys, is the heart-centeredness, okay? And I love actually that, okay, there's the link, Brenda. I love that this question came up already. So if you guys have questions, like I said, either put them in the chat, or you can unmute and ask questions as we go through this. So the one thing that we've been talking about is being the heart-centered. Okay, so how my guide said it the other day was we have to start being congruent with our mindset and our heart set, and we can't bypass one or the other because we need to get them working in congruency. So the mindset is going to be all about, like, where are the limiting beliefs showing up? What patterns, programs, paradigms do you have that are kind of like holding you back? Is there negative thoughts that you have every day? Because, one of the things that we're good, especially as women, is like, we're never good enough, right? Like our body isn't good enough. Our hair doesn't look good enough. Like all of these different bullshit things that we have been trained by society, right? To think that we should look different, feel different, be different, whatever. So it's really getting into like those little finite details, because it's things that we often overlook or we don't even realize that we're saying that to ourselves. And then, so not only the negative thoughts, but then also the hardcore beliefs. And some of these beliefs are like generational. Some of them are, the one thing that I've noticed a lot is that they're based on the society you grew up in. So like if you're from a small town, there's like limiting beliefs that you have that like city people don't have. So it's all about like the community you grew up in, the thoughts that you have, the limiting beliefs that you have, like, and little tiny like bullshit ones, like, oh, she slept her way to the top, or, oh, they were born with a silver spoon in their mouth, or, oh, they don't know what it's like to have hardship because they've always had money, or all of those little kind of things. They seem like reasons, But when you get down to it, it's all just BS. Oh, perfect. So 111 on 111. That's perfect. Thank you. So what we're going to do is get past, in this next few years, there's going to be transformation completely across the board as the way that we are human. Literally, like, it's going to be, just expect things that you're not expecting to change. Okay. And I've kind of talked about that a little bit, like in the past, especially on the Patreon stuff, about how things are going to be changing. And like, we've got to be ready to move into this new energy, and there's no reason for fear, but it's going to look different. And I know I've talked to quite a few people. The holidays this year were totally different than what has been in the past. Like the holidays, like when we were kids, when we grew up, it was totally different. So those of us who were able to go with the flow and just be like, okay, well, this is fun. We still enjoyed it. We still had fun. It was totally different than any normal holiday that I would have ever had, right? But you can either go into it gracefully, or you're going to be kicking and screaming, holding it back. So, so that being said, that's how life in general is going to be moving forward. Like, there's going to be different things happening. Structures are going to be different. And part of what you're seeing in the news, if you'll notice, the energy shifted from, it was like almost like everybody was feeling like World War III. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, why did this plane go down? And everybody forgot about all the other shit that was going on, like literally that fast. So part of that is like timelines that are happening. Part of that is like moving into this new energy. There's all kinds of things on the galactic level, or on the spiritual level, or beyond the things that we understand, that's going to start happening. Again, it's not to be in fear. I want you guys, anybody that's in my community, I want you to be prepared and ready and understanding that there's nothing to fear, that it's all happening in divine timing. And that if we can get out of our head and really fall into our heart space, okay, so this is where it's going to be heart-centered. And this is where we're going to start learning to lead with love in everything. Okay, so we're going to lead with love in everything. But again, my guides are saying you can't cut it off at the neck. You have to integrate the two. So it's going to be mindset and your heart-centeredness, which is going to allow us to move forward in what I'm calling heart set. So we're going to start having a heart set energy, a heart set mentality, like whatever, however you want to play that. But what my cards were saying, or my guides were saying, is that it's going to be all about moving into heart space. So heart set is what I'm going to call it. So that being said, even as we go through this book, we still want to find out where the mindset triggers are, because the mindset is really, really important, and we can't bypass that. And I feel like people that, so my guides came in, just for those of you that haven't worked with me before, I pray over every session, and I always ask for Jesus and the angels to come in and surround us in a sacred space. And so when I was doing that this morning, I felt a lot of guides come in. So if you guys are feeling a lot of energy, that's because there's a lot of support here for us today. And what they're saying is that, again, they're reminding us not to be afraid, that everything's on purpose, and that we've got to get these old thoughts out of our head so that we're not holding ourselves back. Because the more that we can each all step into our own embodied grace, the more that we can step into our own abundance, the more that we can step into success and all of those kind of things, the more we're going to be able to help humanity. And I made a post was it yesterday? This is the other thing. When I get information from spirit, when it's a completely channeled message, I don't remember exactly what I say. It was yesterday, it looks like. And they said, when each of us individually clean up our personal boundaries, emotional wounds, and traumas, we can return to the collective with clearer and healthier vibration, which in turn helps raise the vibration of humanity as a whole. So that's why it's so important for each of us to do our work, for each of us to find peace, for each of us to find what abundance is to us, for each of us to find success, for each of us to be able to have more joy and happiness in the life that we live every day. So that's why it's so important for us to get clear on our goals and get clear on the way we want to create our life and those kind of things, because that stuff is stuff that God put in us. We wouldn't be here with that kind of a dream if he didn't put it in us, right? So, and we all have that dream. If you guys are called to me, you're kind of on the leading edge of this. So it's up to us to kind of have that radical responsibility, I call it, to really stepping into all that there is that God has to offer us. So that being said, also, if you guys don't resonate with the word God, just whenever I say that, just know it's universe, source, energy. You can use whatever term you want for it. I just happen to use that. I have the Christian background. So to me, God is all of those things. God is source, God is universe, whatever. But you guys use whatever term you want, because I don't want the words to be a block. Okay. Annabelle, go ahead. She has her hand raised. Go ahead, honey. Ask whatever you have. What question? Oh. Annabelle, did you have a question? I wonder if she doesn't have. Oh, she doesn't have a speaker. Annabelle, it's showing that you're not connected on a speaker. So if you can type it in the comments over on the side, that would be great. I'm going to go ahead and just keep going, but okay, here, one new message. Okay, so she said her microphone is not working and she can't hear. So Annabelle, if you want to hang up and go back and just call in on your phone, that should work. So let me know if that doesn't work, but try just calling in on the number. And I don't know if it'll let me do that or not. Okay, I was trying to get the email, or the invitation, but okay. So what we're gonna do now, Louise, I think you're the one that asked that question about the heart center. Does that kind of help explain it, or do you need some more clarity on that?
Wait. See if I can unmute. Yeah, am I unmuted? Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yep,
Okay.
I hear you.
Well, yeah, it makes sense, and it feels right. I just because we've been going through the mindset work, and I feel like I know this, and when I hear other things online and people talking about limiting beliefs, I'm like, well, we've done that. I can do that. But heart set for me feels it resonates, but it also feels new. So because I was working today about on blocks. Do I have any blocks left? And this feels like a block to me. Like I don't know how to do it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Okay, so I know you have kids, so let's go into something that you're going to resonate with. When you think of your kids, like, just think about how much you love your kids, and where do you feel that in your body?
Around the heart, the chest.
Okay, so sink into that a little bit, and just imagine, I felt somebody's heart go like almost sink in. Who was that?
Well, mine did. I could be
Yours
one
did
of
too?
them.
Okay. Okay, so a few people did, because I felt it really big. I just like instantly went whew, like this, like I could feel it just heavy on my heart. So what we want to do is get from that heaviness and instead of being in the heaviness, make that big and expanded and just all-encompassing love. So in the thing, we'll come back to this, because one of the questions is about unconditional love. So let's go back. I'm just going to start back. Know that we're going to cover that in a minute, but let's go back to the workbook right now, and we'll kind of work it through as we go. Okay, Louise, does that make sense? Because you're familiar with how I work. So if
Yes.
that's good to you, we'll do that. Otherwise, we'll come back to it, but we'll definitely circle back to this specific question. Okay,
Yep.
So the one thing in the very first question is, if you could have anything you want in life, what would you want? And in the workbook, I said, dare to dream. So if you could have anything you want, what would it be? So, and I need some examples here, because it's going to be different for everybody, and know that there's no wrong answer. This is all about like you guys and what you're working on personally, and there's no wrong answer. So who's willing to either share in the chat box or come open your mic and tell me what you wrote or what you came up with?
I'm always up for it.
Okay, what did yours say?
Well, the first one was better health. That was
Okay.
the one that popped out. It's been going on quite a lot, for a week.
Okay. Okay, so you guys, please let me know. Okay, somebody says adventure, success as a writer. Okay, so the one thing that I'm going to touch on really quick, because Louise, since you said health, there's something that's very important for everybody to understand. As we move into this new energy, and as we go through, and some of you guys that have been with me for a while, you've heard me say this, like about 3.5 years ago, I kept getting that my body was going to recalibrate. And that was the word that I was hearing, was recalibration. And so if that has not happened to you yet, then know that in the next few years, your body will be recalibrating. And what's going to happen is it's happening so that you can bring in more light and anchor it into the planet, because we need more light to support all the changes that are happening in the planet. Now, a lot of people are experiencing it differently. And that's why, I know, remember Cindy, when you called recalibrating emotions, I was like, I've been using that word for my health. And so recalibrating is a really powerful word right now. And so just know that there's going to be some recalibrations to our physical body. If you're on Patreon, know that it's a meditation in there. I can't remember what I called it, but it has to do with crystalline DNA. And so that being said, we're working with the crystalline DNA, which is just an energetic upgrade. Okay. It's an energetic upgrade to our physical bodies. So imagine a car from like the 1940s. If you had a car from the 1940s and you had never done any upgrades to it since then, it's not going to run the same way, on the same fuel and the same everything as it is now. Everybody that has a car that's a 1940s car has reconditioned it, right? So what have they done? They have recalibrated that car to be able to work with today's fuel, with today's oil, with today's all of those kind of things, right? So if we simply just look at our body as a vessel, or the clay pot, or whatever you want to call it, you know that this is really about us moving into a new model, so to speak, or getting upgrades. Same thing with a house. If you have a house from 1920, you pretty much these days have to take out all the wiring and all the pipes and redo all of that, because it won't work in the electricity that's coming through won't work. If you take an organ from 1950, you can't plug it in to the circuits that it is now. You have to rewire it. So does that make sense to everybody? Like, you have to have that recalibration in your physical body to be able to move into this new energy. Everything's going to be different, even the viruses, because everything is changing, right? And everything's raising vibration. We're still on this planet. So we're still going to experience the duality. We're still going to experience, sickness. It's all just part of being human. So we've got to look at life a little bit differently. Now, you guys know I'm water, right? Like, this is a 50-ounce bottle, and I drink usually a couple of these a day. And it's all about being hydrated, for one, trusting yourself to know what you need, and understanding that might change. So I'm just going to be personal here and tell you guys, I am hardcore herbal nutrition. I know the vitamins I need. I know the herbs I need. And my body right now it's not enough. And so I actually did a meditation and just talked to my body. So this is another kind of weird thing that some of you guys might not be familiar with. When we look at ourselves, we need to look at ourselves as a whole. And when I say whole, I mean we need to look at physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and galactic energies, because all of those right now affect us. And when you're looking at the physical, your body kind of has its own energy. And so if you sit with it and just say, okay, what kind of oil, quote unquote, do I need? What do I need? Ask your body, what do I need right now? You may hear orange juice. You may hear calcium. You may hear magnesium. You may hear water. You may hear sleep, right? So it's all of those different things. Like, it's learning to trust yourself. And again, you've kind of got to somebody said sunshine. That's perfect. Outdoors, getting outside in the sun, going for a walk, like all of those kind of things are valid. I'm sorry, the sun is kind of making a glare, but all of those kind of things, that didn't help. That made it worse. Are what we need to learn to do is start listening to ourselves as a whole. Okay. So if you need to go to the doctor, go to the doctor. One of my girlfriends, who is very totally organic, never does anything, like she had to go to the doctor, and she was like, I just can't believe this. And I think part of it too is our guides teaching us that we can't always be in control. So the one thing that I've said, and I think this was in that webinar with Michelle the other day, is the only way to have complete control over your life is to surrender completely. Right? So what does that mean? Surrendering to spirit means that you are surrendering to what is. That it means you're surrendering to knowing that there's more at play than you realize, and knowing that the universe is way bigger than we can imagine, but also knowing that we have support. We have angelic support. We all have angels. We all have guides. We all have a soul spark inside of us that's directly connected to the divine. So the more we can listen to that part of ourselves, which to me is in my heart, because it's always like, when I think back to, Sunday school, it's this little light of mine. Well, it was always in our heart. It was like a little place in our heart that we have this candle, right? So the more we get into our heart, the more we're going to be able to move forward with things. So that being said, Louise, I would say sit and do a meditation with your body and ask your body, what do I need? What has changed? The other thing for me is I used to hate the elliptical. I hated it. It was all I could do to get on there. But for whatever reason, that's what's been feeling good to me, is the elliptical. And I think part of that might be because it's kind of that cross energy. So those of you guys that are familiar with Donna Eden's energy work, like that cross crawl thing that she does, where you're moving the energy and polarizing your body so that the energies work well. Or if you're with horses, a lot of people do the polarization on their horses to make sure they're grounded and centered before they do whatever it is they're doing. That's all about just getting the electrical circuits in our body balanced. And so I think that's why the elliptical has felt good to my body lately. So it's trusting, and literally everything in me was resisting getting on the elliptical, because I'm like, I don't like the elliptical, but it feels really good. So it's getting out of your head saying, I don't like this. Ask yourself, why don't I like this? And maybe be brave enough to try it. And you may figure out that there's something different that, again, I would have never thought that I would like the elliptical, but it's what feels good right now. So does that kind of answer that question, Louise?
Sort of, in one way, definitely. The other is, even though, because I know some of the things that my body is telling me, or maybe I don't, I just feel like I do, and trying to avoid it somehow. That was fun.
Yeah, imagine that, right? So again, just like me, like get out of your head and quit saying,
Yeah.
this is what I need, or this is what I do, and start asking, okay. And again, you guys, with everything in life, it's like, okay, now what? That's where I'm at with my guides right now. And that's where, like, I want everybody to be able to learn to go with the flow of life without any fear, because when you can do that, it's so much more fun. And so ask your guides, like, I want better health. What does that look like for me? Do a meditation specifically with your body and say, what is my body telling me? What does my body need? Ask your body, what do I need? And see what you get. So do that from a meditation place. And I think if that's better health is what you're focusing on, then that's what we'll look at for that. I'm going to look really quick over. Somebody said the crystalline meditation is amazing. That one was amazing for me too. So more adventures, more success, more balance.
I keep doing that meditation. I've done it about 4 times now, and every time I do, something amazing, aha, comes up and happens. And it rearranges everything. It's amazing. It's been amazing.
Yeah. So any of the meditations that I have that are available to you guys on the Patreon, you can download those and work with them anytime, because they're always there. You can use them at any time, and trust yourself to know which one you need. Like, you may need one from way back in the very beginning. Maybe you only need the one that's like the prayer one, right? I'm not sure who's joining on the phone. There's a 6935 number. Just know I muted you because I can hear background noise. But let me know if you have a question, and you can unmute yourself. Do you have a question? Okay, I'm going to mute it again. Okay, so, all right, does anybody else want to say what they want in life? I read some of them. Get out of my head. I think too much. That's absolutely, I get that. A healthy life. I already read More Adventures. Rebuilding. Okay, so some of us are in a brand new place. So it's actually a great place to be if you're rebuilding, because it's all new. So nothing's going to look like the way that it did look before. So did anybody on here say like, I really want this, but I don't know that I can have it, or I don't know how to do it, or it feels like a pipe dream? Does anybody have anything like that?
No.
Stop overthinking, more divine flow, trust and peace. Okay. So when you were journaling about that question, okay, somebody said starting a new career, but I don't know how to do it. Okay. So the big thing is going to be, what do you want and do you believe you can have it? And I want everybody on here to be completely honest. Do you believe you can have it? Now, know that this is something that I work on all the time, you guys, because I have the same thing. Everything that I teach is stuff that either I've been through or I'm going through or my guides are telling me to talk about, right? So the answer depends on the day. That's perfect answer, because it depends on where you're at, right? It depends on your mindset. It depends on how you feel. It depends on what's going on. So how to start going about a new career and a new life and love, okay? So like all of these things, like starting a new career, but I don't know how, that's perfect, because what we want to do is, do you believe you can have a new career? Do you believe that you have what it takes to find a new career? Do you have what it takes to, you know what I mean? Like, do you trust yourself to know what the right thing is? Okay, so I actually am going to use this one, Pele, because I love this. Okay, so here's what she said is, yes, I feel like I can have it, but I need to work for it because it isn't going to just fall in my lap. Okay, that is a huge limiting belief. And it doesn't look like one, does it? It looks like a normal statement, okay? But thinking it's not going to fall into your lap is actually limiting the source, because the angels can't drop it in your lap if you're saying it's never going to just fall in my lap. Now, there is two parts to that, because you want to have inspired action. You want to be open to it. So you want to say, oh, you know what? I believe I can have this. I wonder how it's going to come to me.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Taking inspired action to actually receive it, because it's already there.
Right.
You know, what I want, my goal, I can see it. But if I don't take that inspired action, I'm just kind of looking down the pipe and not, you know, going for it, moving forward. I'm just kind of stuck.
So shift that tiny little bit. It doesn't seem like a limiting belief. And that's the other thing, you guys, it's really tricky. When you do the big hard work on the limiting beliefs, like I don't think I'm worthy, or I don't know if I can have it, then you get these little micro ones that pop up. And that's why law of attraction sometimes doesn't work, is because people change the big beliefs, but then they forget to look at the tiny little micro ones. Right?
Yeah. And the Angel of Abundance course actually allowed me and taught me to look at those little tiny, like it's like the fine print, you know, you got the big, huge paragraph. Hey, I want to, you know, grow my career or start something new. But then if you don't look down in the fine print where you're still, you know, chaining yourself down, you're just going to second guess yourself, or, you know I can do it, but why is it not happening to me?
Right.
Taking all the steps, but I don't feel like I'm moving.
Right. So that again is going to be, it's working on those micro things. Okay. So the Angels of Abundance course blew my mind, you guys. Like I created that with my angels. And then when I listened back to it, I was like, holy cow, what just happened? It was incredible. That class was incredible. So yeah, the Angels of Abundance was just mind blowing. And so here's the thing, you guys, what's really perfect about this, and Pele, thank you for letting me use you as an example. Even though she's like, I know these things, she wrote it, and the way she said it is written in that, even though it doesn't sound like it, it's written in that tiny little micro limiting belief. So how do you shift just that tiny little thing? And let's see, I'm trying to find that. Where is that? I don't know where I saw that you wrote it down, but anyway, so just shifting that tiny little thing of saying, instead of it won't fall into my lap, say, how is it going to show up? And then still taking the inspired action, right? And the inspired action for you especially is going to be, okay, now what? Okay, now what? Okay. Okay, somebody wants to go to the beach in 2020, make a vision board. That's fantastic. Start looking at how can you create that vacation? What are the things you need to know? Where are you going to stay? Which beach do you want to go to? Start getting a little bit more clear on that so that as you get more clarity, it allows more energy to come in supporting that. So somebody said each new aha chips away at the little things, and I'm showing how they all fit together. That's exactly how this works. Every time you have a little tiny aha moment, and you guys don't think I'm immune to this. Like I literally just was in the shower yesterday morning and I went, oh my God, there was a limiting belief that fell right in my lap. I've been doing this work for a long time. It was one of those tiny little micro ones that didn't feel like a limiting belief, but when I felt into it, I realized that's what it was. Okay. Now, what's really funny is also be clear on what you want, because I'll just give another personal example. And some of you guys have heard this. I was kind of complaining because since we've been in the camper, I don't have a housekeeper anymore. And I'm like, God, I'd really like a housekeeper. Well, guess what? We're in a hotel. So I have a housekeeper. So I mean, just so you know, kind of jokingly funning around with that. But like part of me wonders if me wanting a housekeeper is what landed us here in the hotel, because it very well could have.
I keep getting these big ahas, and they open up something new, and then I stop and go, oh, wow, now what? Where was that? What else is with that? And all of these little tiny things show up, and then it tells me how everything, all those limiting beliefs were related.
Mm-hmm. And they're micro ones.
And it buries it down to, oh, lack is still down there at the bottom.
Right.
But it's been chipping away. And yes, I am worthy. So if I'm worthy, how can there be lack? Oh, that's a good question. We'll answer that for you in a little while. And that's right. This thing has been going on for me.
Right. And part of that's going to be part of your own soul evolution, right? And so part of that is just us learning and refining. So these micro ones, if you've already done the work on the big limiting beliefs, then go into the micro ones, because that's where you're going to be tricking yourself. And they're really tricky, you guys. Like in the Angels of Abundance course, that was one of the places where I actually realized some of my tiny little micro ones and how much bigger than I thought they were. Because don't let your ego get in the way and make you think, no, I don't have any limiting beliefs, because that in itself is probably limiting you, because it's going to block you from actually seeing limiting beliefs that you have. Yeah. And Pele, I know you have all the birds. That's so amazing. I loved those cardinal pictures the other day. So, okay. So when we were working on journaling the thoughts about that, does anybody else have anything that they want to talk about what they want, or if they feel like they can actually have it, like where your beliefs are on that? If not, then we'll probably go ahead and go on to more. Okay, so does anybody want to come on?
I do.
Okay.
It's just a comment. It's just, I'm going through this thing of becoming a partner with someone for a medical physical store, you know?
Okay.
And it's weird, but I just have a peace about it. I don't know how the money's going to come, but I just know it's going to come.
Okay.
So that's really cool. I don't know if I just got off track or.
No, that's okay. So that's part of it.
Okay. Yeah.
A lot of the people on the call are new though, and so they haven't done the same work that you've done with me in the past. And so that's awesome to hear. So I want you guys to all hear that, because if you're sitting here going, how the hell do I get there? Know that it can happen, because she just showed you. I don't know how it's going to happen. I have peace about it. I don't even know why I have peace about it. I just know that that's where I'm going. Right.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. That means you're doing the work. And I would say, as you move into it, just be aware of those little micro ones that come up. So if you feel like you have any kind of setback, know, like that's where you're going to stop and say, wait a minute. Okay. I know this is the direction I'm supposed to be heading. What is this setback showing me? Right. So instead of being like, oh my God, I can't do this. This keeps blocking me, whatever. Look and say, what is this showing me? Where can I do some refinement on my own thoughts, my own beliefs, my own heart energy? Is there clearing work that needs to be done? Do I need to look at my paradigm? Like, look into all of those kind of things and see if anything shows up around that.
Yeah. And it's funny that you said that, because little things have come up and it's like, yeah, okay, is that mine or is that theirs? And
right.
Why do I got to do the work and everything? So yeah.
Okay, and that's actually really important too, especially if you're going into partnership. You're going to need to be aware of, is this my belief that's holding us back, or is it their belief that's holding us back? Because if you're working in partnership, it could be theirs.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and you can't force that on anybody else, but I mean, you do energy work too, so you can offer healing or whatever you need to do to get through the blocks, but know that when you're moving into partnership, that's going to be a collective energy that creates that.
Right.
And, whatever it is that you're doing for the business.
Yeah. So, and what's great is because she's the energy healer too.
Oh,
so
good. So then you guys can work together.
Yes. So we recognize it's like, do you see that coming? It's like, yeah. So it's really
the only thing that I would give advice for you then is look at the micro, right? Because you guys have all the big blocks cleared already. So look at the micro ones. Okay. So one question was how to clarify exactly what you want more clearly. So one of the best ways to get to the complete root of what you want, if you are not clear about exactly what you want, look at what you don't want. Now, this freaks everybody out, especially if they've had any law of attraction training, because they're like, no, we're not supposed to talk about the negative. You can't get to the truth of it if you don't acknowledge what the negative stuff is. Okay. So this is where kind of like shadow work and all that kind of stuff, everybody needs to quit being worried of that shit, because we all have it. So the more that we can bring it to light, the less power it has. So what are the things that you don't want? So if you're looking at, you clearly want to have this exact thing. If you're not sure what it is, then you've got to step back and say, okay, what is it that I don't want to experience anymore? Right? So I'll use Louise for her health thing. I don't want to feel tired anymore. Okay. And I don't know if this is, Louise, what you mean with better health, but I'm just going to kind of pull some ideas out. So if we're looking at better health as an example, you would say, I don't want to be tired anymore. So what would that look like? Instead of saying, I don't want to be tired, you would then switch it and say, I want to feel energized, right? Because you want to then, what you do is you look at what you don't want. And instead of saying that negative thing, you switch it to the opposite. So instead of saying, I don't want to be tired anymore, you would say, I want to have plenty of energy, right? Or I don't want to be sick anymore. I want to allow my body to be healthy. Okay. I don't want to feel depleted anymore. I want to clearly have communication with my body so that I know what fuel it needs. Right? So it's switching from the negative, I don't want this, and you flip it into, I do want this. So does anybody have a don't want that they want me to look at and help redirect? Because sometimes just having another person look at it helps you switch it. So if anybody has that, either unmute and ask the question, or does anybody have anything like that they want me to go over? Anything specific?
Yeah, there's something I don't want.
Okay.
I want it to go away. Once upon a time, I could solve a problem because I could see all the steps and I knew exactly where to start and how to go through it. Mm-hmm. And I lost that ability. I can't find the place to start. Okay. Biggest problem I have. And then, or if I get started, I lose things in the middle and I can't figure out how to get from, well, I'm on step 3. How do I get to step 4?
Okay. Why is
5?
That?
Because I can't find them in the middle.
What is the thing that's doing that?
I have no idea. I know that it started when my brain shut down.
Okay. So I don't want to be a victim of my brain injury anymore. Does that sound right? Okay. I want to be empowered to work with and heal the brain injury.
Aha. I like those.
Yeah. So just switch it just a little bit. Okay. Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions on like flipping that? Okay. Roseanne?
Yeah, I like the victim thing, so I'm grabbing that one. But what I wrote down and came up quick is the fear, overthinking, and I put worry, but it could be anxiety.
Okay.
How to flip out of that, or procrastination. I don't know, that maybe it's all tied together. I'm not sure.
Okay, so one thing that I would do for sure for you is to help you get clear. And I don't know, do you have access to the life coaching program? I'm trying to remember. I think you do.
Yours?
The life coaching program. Go into the life coaching program and look for the module that's on somewhere in there. I have a list of feeling words. And there's like 3 different PDFs. Download those feeling words. And what I want you to do, and if you guys don't have them, you can just Google words that have feeling, or feeling words, or like emotional words or whatever, and just look at the words. And what I want you to do is, once you pinpoint the word, then we'll work through that. Okay. So for example, is if you said, I don't want to procrastinate, or I don't want to be a victim of procrastination anymore. I am empowering myself to make the right steps. I am empowering myself to make forward movement. I am empowering myself to trust that I can move forward. Like any way that works for you to reword that will help you with the energy behind it.
Okay.
But I think what might be really good for you is just to pinpoint what it is that you're feeling and then move into it. I am allowing myself to become empowered for whatever. Or I don't want to feel worried anymore. I am trusting. I am allowing. I am supported by spirit. Like any of those kind of things is going to help you feel that way. And a really good and important thing that you said is that you pulled it from that. So you guys, whenever we're working like this in a group, know that whatever you're hearing probably on purpose. So listen when I'm talking to somebody else, because there may be something that triggers and you're like, oh, okay, I can use that for myself. Make sense? Because that's the one powerful thing about the groups is you can really get into something maybe you didn't even realize you needed to look at. And then it goes, oh, I should look at that.
Yeah, I was listening to Susie's, and then I just dropped her name. She was just on how she was speaking about her brain and then victimizing, because I kind of have that in procrastination, and it's way less than what it used to be because I'm epileptic and I had a brain tumor removed.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so easy. It was so easy in the past for me to look at my life and say, I can't do this because of my seizures. I can't do this because of this, that, and the other. And it's bad to say that medical issue was something I used as an excuse. And there are probably a lot of people that do that. But I used it as a procrastination tool. Mm-hmm. And now, after actually following you and listening to a lot of the advice and taking the courses, the 30-day challenge and the Angels of Abundance, I can see that procrastination, that fear that I used my seizures for. I haven't had seizures in years because that tumor was removed. But it's kind of bred in me the limitations that I put on myself back when it was uncontrolled. And now that it's controlled, I need to try to kind of break free from that box that I was stuck in for years.
So I would look at, there's a couple different things. So I would look at energy work, I would look at mindset, and I would look at programs and paradigms that have been put on you. Because if this happened like when you were younger, you've probably accepted some of the programs or patterns or beliefs from those who took care of you. Okay. So look at all of that and see where can I heal from that. So I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. And those of you that have worked with me for a long time probably don't even know this. I have all kinds of shit ton of stupid autoimmune disorders. Like there's so many labels, it's ridiculous. I don't ever tell anybody because I don't want, one, I don't want their energy around it. Two, I'm not accepting it as part of, like, I'm not fighting against it. Like, I understand that this is what it is, but instead of fighting against it, saying I'm not going to be sick, I say I honor my body. And so I know that for me, I don't do mornings. You guys all know I don't do mornings. You don't know why I don't do mornings. I don't do mornings because of one of the autoimmune problems that I have. So what do? Instead of limiting myself, I just say, I'm going to honor myself. I know it takes me some time to get moving. I know I need that time in the morning to get my body working and moving and get things flowing. And I know that it takes me a little while to get in the mind space to be able to move forward in the day. So instead of fighting against that, when I was younger, I was swing shift girl. I didn't do the morning shift. I'm like, nope, I'm happy to work swing shift or late, because I know that that's what it takes for me personally. So even back in the day, Like even high school, it was so funny. I didn't put on makeup and stuff to go to school because I just didn't feel like it. About 10 o'clock, I had a break. That's when I got my makeup on for the day. So instead of fighting against and being a victim of all of these things that everybody has been telling me forever that's wrong with me, I'm like, no, God made me the way I am. I'm going to just work with what I've got. So you can either be a victim of it, or you can say, okay, I know that I have this. Now, what can I do to support that and still be able to do what I want to do?
Yeah. And that's what, following you and going through your courses has actually helped me with. And like you said, when I was young, I was put in that box. I was put in the box where, I might not find a husband. Doctor said I wouldn't have kids. There were so many things that trapped me in this little prison that even now that I have broken out of it, there's still those little, like you said, micro things.
It's the micro things. And again, Paley, I'm really feeling like for you, look at the energy of the beliefs around you. I don't even know if it's yours anymore or if it's because once you clear up your own stuff, you'll start clearing up generational stuff.
Yeah, and it's also with my family members too, because they kind of like slide me, be careful, you have this, da 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 da.
My mom, God bless her, still does that. It's like, she's still like, oh, you better get some rest so you don't end up sick. You don't want to end up in the hospital again. You know what I mean? Like, so it's those kind of things, because even though I've fixed or healed that or let go of those thoughts, there's still those thoughts around me. So it's generational. And then karmic. So I would look at all of those kind of things. Like for you, just knowing where you're at, that's what I would say, is to look into some of that further. Carrie, I think, do you have a question?
Well, I have more of a comment, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I have also found that I am found great power in looking at what the experience gem might be in this situation. Let's say you have a limitation. Well, what did that teach you? What other skills did you have to strengthen to be able to work around that? People who born blind or without hearing or whatever, a lot of times their other senses are heightened. And there's so much that I have seen in my own life that I've had to overcome. And it's actually been a blessing to me, because without our weaknesses, we don't find our strengths and the miracles that we call in and so forth. So,
right. No, I agree with that completely. And so part of it too, you guys, I just got to reiterate this. Sometimes it's just part of the experience. Because so back in the day, I always just did what I had to do. And if I knew if I needed extra rest and I needed extra sleep, and if people wanted to make fun of me about it, whatever, right? That was kind of my attitude. The more I stepped into the spirituality of things, then I went into the whole other spectrum of, if I was spiritual enough, I would heal this. Well, guess what? It's not meant for me to heal. It's meant for me to work with. And so I know for me, what it does is it helps me slow down. It helps me stay. Sometimes I kind of get a day in bed, because then I have to listen to my spirit guides more, because I'm totally ignoring what's going on. Right. So it's like, instead of, it's just about flipping the switch on it. It's about understanding it. Is there a lesson? Is it just experience? And the biggest thing I can say is to not judge it as wrong, because that was a trap that I fell into probably 4 or 5 years ago. I was like, if I was spiritual enough, I would heal this, because I know that it can be healed. I've seen healing happen, especially like with my daughter. So if you guys read the last book I put out, which was the Secret Psychic one, there was an experience with my daughter where she was healed completely. And part of that was not accepting what the doctor said, because the doctors came in and told her she may never walk again. And we told her, you're not, as soon as they walked out, I said, we are not accepting that. I cleared the energy off of her. I cleared the energy in the room. We cleared it all. And I said, you're not accepting that. You know better. We will find out what this is, and it will be healed. And her dad and I both just kept telling her, you will be healed from this. You will be fine. You will have a full recovery, like all of those kind of things. And so she has glasses now, and she has a minor little tick from nerve damage in her neck. But other than that, that's it. So when she gets tired, she kind of gets this little twitch, but other than that, everything is healed. So part of it is, I know that miraculous healing can happen, but if it doesn't happen for you, it doesn't mean that anything's wrong. And you guys, I went through QHHT session. I've had medical intuitive sessions. Like I've done all of these kind of things. And my guides are like, quit judging it. There's nothing wrong. This is exactly what you're supposed to experience in this time. And maybe it's simply so that I can tell somebody else. It doesn't mean that you're not in your spiritual journey if you still have an illness. Do you see what I mean? So like when we stop judging it and we can be at peace with it, and not fight against it anymore. Right. So, like even when you get a cold, if you're fighting against the cold, if you're like, I'm going to take this vitamin C so that I'm not sick anymore, then your cold's going to last longer. If you say, I'm going to take this vitamin C and drink this tea because I know it will support my body, changes it. It just that tiny little change makes it different. So look at, are you fighting against it or are you working with it? Right.
I think now a lot I am working with it because, as the other lady said, what strength did it bring to you?
Right.
And even when I was young, I got a lot of help from God because I would pray. I mean, I remember when I first had my first seizure and just going through them. I knew on the outside I wasn't saying anything with everybody around me, but on the inside I was talking, and I was talking to God. And that strength that I have gained over the years of it has helped out a lot, because there are things that I would never thought of if I was just a normal person. So it's just that, like you've been saying, and I wrote that down, it's a micro fear that was like woven into my own fabric as young that creeps back out. So I got to pinpoint it and deal with it.
So when you said that I just got a thing for my guides, and they want us to start moving forward, saying everything you guys is about words. And I've been saying this for the last few months. So what I just heard was, instead of calling it a micro fear, and it's not wrong, but the one way to switch that now is call it a micro vibration. That's what they just said. So instead of lack, limitation, or whatever, let's start saying it's a micro vibration that's still active. Because we know that that's what it is, right? Like any of those kind of things, not saying that it's wrong, but if you have something that's tiny, let's switch that. And I just got chills on that because I had not heard that until just now. So there's a micro vibration that still needs to be cleared, refined, upscaled, whatever you want to call it. Another comment in here that's really good is, I find that I use my family responsibilities as a crutch for why I can't. And that's so true. It's so true. So because everybody needs something from us, we don't have time to do whatever. You guys, this is something that it was in my face so hard when I first started doing this work. It's up to me to decide. So it's up to me to decide how I want my life to look. And if I'm giving energy to something because I'm a victim of it and I can't, I have to do this for my family, then it doesn't get done in the same way as saying, I love my family and I love doing this for them. So everybody is at different phases. And so that's where non-judgment has to come in, because if you see somebody that has this growing career and like everything's going well, if she's single, you cannot compare yourself to her because she doesn't have kids. She doesn't have husbands. She doesn't have whatever it is, right? Male, female, whatever. Like if you see somebody that's really super successful, don't compare yourself to that. You can see what they have and see what they're creating and see how you want to do something similar, but don't compare yourself, because nobody's in the same situation. Everybody here is in a different situation. Okay. And you can either make yourself miserable and push through, or you can work with what you have. So if you feel like you have too much going on in your family responsibilities, you can hire a housekeeper. You can get somebody to come in and help with laundry. You can maybe find a carpool idea for your kids. Like there's other ways around it. But what happens is we tend to stay in that victim mode because that's what we know, because that's what we grew up with. Probably our parents were like that. You know what I mean? Like it was a victim of the circumstance. And I'll hear people say, well, yeah, it must be nice to have a housekeeper. I can't afford one. Yes, you can. All you've got to do is decide. And it sounds so stupid. You've got to decide. One of the scariest things I ever did years ago was hire a housekeeper. And I was looking at it. I didn't want anybody to know. I was just hoping and praying my family didn't find out that I hired a housekeeper. Like my aunts and my mom and you know what I mean? Like I didn't want anybody to know, because that made me unable to handle my life because I needed help. Do you see what I mean? So And then what's funny is when I finally stepped into it and said, no, I am going to do this, I looked at it from a different perspective. I thought, no, I am actually giving somebody else an income that they need because they do this work already. So that's supporting their income, which is part of giving, which is part of divine flow, which is give and receive, and that there's plenty of abundance. And as long as you believe that, then there will be. So what was so funny is I was so terrified to hire a housekeeper. Once I did, our budget didn't even change. Like I ended up having more time. I got more clients. So it ended up being in flow again. I stepped more fully into what I was supposed to be doing because obviously my guides wanted me to be teaching, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I was not in my divine flow because I was afraid of lack. But once I stepped into that, my housekeeper is really good at it. She loves it. She actually did it to keep herself healthy too, because it kept her moving. So it's all about those tiny little micro, like once you've passed the big limiting beliefs, you get into the micro vibrations. So that's where we clean up now. Okay, so let's see. Okay, any other questions before we move on to the next one? Because I kind of want to get going into the next one, which is like really learning to create a life you love. So I just want everybody to know, well, first of all, you guys are hearing this. Life is always in flux. Like we've already seen just from this call, the things that are in flux and how things change. So even if you've had goals in the past, it's time to maybe start looking at those and rebuilding, resetting, reconsidering, reassessing. Like there's a bunch of RE words. Yeah, cleaning bathrooms is not my gift either, Cindy. I hate it. So I'll do dishes all day. I hate laundry and I hate cleaning the bathroom. But so as we move forward into this, I think this is page 3 maybe of the workbook. It says you can create a life you love with the 5 steps of embodied grace. So when I say that you can create a life you love, I know some of you have worked with me before, so you know it's possible. But is anybody else on the call that has anything coming up? When I say that, do you feel it? Do you believe it? Those kind of things. Or is there anything there that needs to be looked at? Because I want to help everybody on the call, even if you haven't worked with us before. So does anybody have a question about creating a life you love? Okay. So if there's no questions there, go ahead.
Did you skip over the part on unconditional love? Or are you coming back to that?
Nope, that's at the bottom. It should be.
Well, I don't know. I must have my pages out of order.
Okay. Yeah, that should be at the very end.
Okay.
Yep, that's next. Okay. So if you're looking at, like, wouldn't it be cool to start creating a life you love? Like, does anybody have anything about that, or does everybody feel like you're ready to do that? So I'm going to take that as a yes. So then if you know that you can create a life you love and you're in the state of, wouldn't it be cool to really start creating that now? Then what you've got to know is, what does that look like? What things would you experience on a daily basis? So I'll tell you, when this first started happening for me, I knew that I wanted happiness, peace, abundance, joy. I had no freaking idea what that looked like. I had no idea, because the way that I grew up, God bless my family, they were doing the best that they could. They didn't know any different. It was always, there wasn't enough. Nobody was happy enough. Nobody ever felt good enough. Like there was never enough of anything. And even when we were doing stuff fun, it was always just kind of this, so I didn't know what it would even look like to have a joyful, peaceful, abundant, fun life. Because the only thing I knew was work hard, die hard. Kind of, you know what I mean? Like life's hard, work hard, everything's hard, you know what I mean? And then you die. And I'm like, and again, it's not their fault. That's just what they knew. And I'm not saying that there's anything bad with hard work, because hard work is so powerful. When you're willing to do the work and you're willing to do hard work, you get better results. You get better, I don't even know what word to say. If you work hard, you get good return. We'll put it that way. Okay, so somebody's saying, I don't know what my life should look like. So when you don't know what it looks like, this is what I had to do. And this sounds really goofy, but I went off of movies I had seen, on other families that I had seen and experienced. Like I had friends in high school that I would go to their house and I'd be like, wouldn't it be so cool to actually just have fun? Like they actually had fun. And not saying that we didn't ever have fun at my family's, because we did, but it was a different kind of ease, and they had more money than we did. So it's a different kind of stress, a different kind of ease. And I'm like, well, why can't I have that? There's no reason that you can't have that, right? I had all of those lack beliefs. We weren't born with a silver spoon in our mouth. We didn't come from the right, part of town, like what, all of the bullshit that we tell ourselves. But what's the truth is that everybody can have it. You just have to believe that you can, and you have to figure out, where am I believing that these things are true? Where am I believing that if you don't have a silver spoon, or if you're not born with money, you'll never have money? Where is that belief in me? Where do I have that? Am I storing it in a chakra? Is it in my auric field? Is it in beliefs? Is it in a genetic pattern? Like, where is that in me that I actually align with that and I believe that? Where is it in me that believes that you have to work hard for everything, and that if you're not breaking your back, you're never going to make a dime, right? So it's a matter of finding those beliefs. And then when you start looking at what would that look like, you're going to have to get creative. If you don't have a good example of what that would look like, get creative. Where have you seen it? Where can you believe it? Right? So, yeah, so hard work is hard, but the rewards I reap is amazing. And that's absolutely true. So, but a lot of it too, you guys, comes back to the beliefs that you have. And that's where all of it, like, that's where your biggest things are going to come, is when you can get clear on, like, what do I want? And do I believe I can have it? And if you don't know how to create what things would look like, then you're going to have to get creative and borrow it from somebody else. So, I know a lot of people have seen that since we travel, right? Since we live, I had no idea that people actually wanted to do that on purpose, like live in a fifth wheel on purpose. Like for us, it was just kind of like this funny thing that just happened, right? But there's so many people who are like, oh my God, I want to do that. Like, I want to have that freedom to do that. And I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. Like, you can totally do it. And so they borrowed their ideas from me of like, oh my God, I love that the way your camper's set up. Great. Take a picture of it. Go look at campers and create what you want. Like, so if you don't have something in your own experience of what that would look like, borrow it from somebody. So mine was a lot like movies. Mine was a lot with other people that I had seen. Vision boards, right? Vision boards work great. I had to get more into the energy of it. So vision boards are good. They don't work as well for me as feeling it. So again, find what works for you. Is it better to see it? Is it better to feel it? Or all of the above? Journaling and feeling for me are the best. So, and meditation. So I do a lot of creative visualization meditations, because that helps me see, like, and helps me feel into, because all it comes down to really, it's not even about the things like the camper or the car or the whatever. It's more about what is the emotion behind it that you're going to feel. Right? And then believing it can happen, because the other thing, like just using the camper, for example, it has a garden tub. Like, I didn't even know they existed, but I kind of jokingly told my husband, well, I'm really like not looking forward to giving up my tub. Like, that's one thing that I want. We found a camper with a garden tub in it. Who knew? Right? So it's about believing anything can happen. And I kind of was in that, wouldn't it be funny if it happened? And then sure as shit, we found one with a tub in it. So anyway, so it can happen that way. So then once you kind of get an idea of it, then what you do is sink into the daily experience. Like, what are the things that you would experience on a daily basis? One of the things that I wanted to experience on a daily basis was not feeling rushed in my mornings. And so part of that for me was like, okay, well, I know that I want my day to start out, and I'm going to start out waking up, and I'm going to have my coffee, and I'm going to allow myself to sit for a while, and I'm going to do my meditation, and then I'm going to finally start getting around. Right. So like I have a 2-hour window in my schedule that I know that that's the time that I have to get up and around, get myself going. I love that time in the morning. That time in the morning is critical for me, because it's like my self-care. It's my quiet time. It's my, all of those kind of things. And then being able to go with the flow. Like, for example, yesterday morning we had a snow day here. So I got up, but I didn't have the full amount of time but my husband's like, hey, I'm not going to obviously be able to work. They went out to the job site and he called me and said, do you want to go have breakfast? And I said, yeah, can I have half an hour? Because I wanted a little bit more time to sit. I wanted to be able to get cleaned up and ready. And so again, you have to start kind of voicing what you need and what you want. So that gave me some time. I'd already been up for a little while anyway, so it was okay. But so like being able to go with the flow, and the more you allow yourself to have your daily life look like what you want, the easier it is when things like that come up to handle them. Okay. So does anybody have anything specific? Like, I want to experience this every day. Or does anybody have anything like on that page 3 where it says, what would it look like and what things would you want to experience on a daily basis? Does anybody have anything there that they want me to go over? Okay, nobody's saying anything. So I guess that means you guys are good on that. Okay, peace of mind. Okay, so if you want to experience peace of mind every day, what is peace of mind? How does that look? How does that show up? What would it feel like to have peace of mind? Okay, so somebody else wants 2 coaching clients every afternoon. Ease, grace, and confidence. Okay, so if you want 2 coaching clients every afternoon, is your schedule set up to where you can have that? Do you have room in your schedule for for the 2 clients? Like, do you have a slot open in your calendar? So this is where I would tell you go in and do the planning your perfect week, I think is the name of that webinar, planning your perfect day or planning your perfect week, whatever it is, and actually look and see, do you really want 2 clients a week? 2 clients every afternoon? Is that really what you want every afternoon? Or would you rather have like 4 clients on one day and then have the other days freedom? Do you know what I mean? So like looking at where do you really want those? And if you want those, then you need to go in and you need to block out your calendar and you need to start making room for those 2 clients, which would mean that right now, if you start doing your schedule that way, that means that you do whatever, and whatever hours you want those clients to have, you need to block that in your calendar and start using that time as if it's already clients there. So if you had clients, what would you be doing in that space? So set up your time to allow for that, because if you're doing other things, then you're not allowing for the time for your clients. Somebody said ease, grace, and confidence. So what would ease look like in your day? What does grace look like in your day? How would you experience that? What would show up for you, right? How would it feel to you to have that? As far as confidence, what is confidence? If you define confidence, what does it mean to you? Because confidence to me and confidence to somebody else is going to look totally different. So what does confidence look like to you? How would it feel? How would you show up differently, right? If you were confident, what would that look like? Let's see. Did that answer everybody? Becky, did you see how that coaching clients thing, how that makes sense to put that in your schedule? And then be in your office as if you had clients and work on something coaching related in that time until you start filling in your clients in that space. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything like that they want me to go over? Okay, good. She said that makes sense. So that's good. Okay. So then, that's how I would start creating the life you love, like looking at what would it look like? What are the things that I would experience every day? So part of it is defining what it is. And then part of it is feeling into how would that feel as if you had it. So now the kind of, I want to say the new part of what I'm adding to what I've already taught in the past is adding this heart set part to it. So, so we need to dive in a little bit into unconditional love and what that means, what that looks like, and how that feels, because it's something that we're probably not all completely familiar with. So if you're just to stop right now what you're doing, and those of you that have already done the workbook, like what did you write about unconditional love? So I want you to tell me like anything and everything you know or think about unconditional love.
I had a big aha the other day about unconditional love
Okay.
related to giving and receiving, and
Okay.
mostly about giving. And I came up with, in my world, it was, giving something, it was always a negative receipt. You never did it right and all of that stuff. And I finally realized, you know what? The only thing I'm responsible for is the giving, and it's gifting, not giving, it's gifting. And I gift it from joy and gratitude with the intention that it is for the best and greatest, highest good for the person receiving and for me. And the only thing I'm attached to is the gifting. Once it's gifted, it's up to you what to do with it. You can receive it or not. You can accept it or not. You can be angry about it or not. You can do whatever you want to do. That's it. And what I gift now is unconditional love, because it comes from joy and gratitude, with that intention. And lady the other day said to me, well, I need you to take it back. I said, I can't take it back. It's there for you if you want it. If you don't want it, it's fine. It's there. It's an abundant supply for as much or as little as you need, if or and when or not you ever decide you want it. That's it. My part's only this part. What you do with it is up to you. And I don't have to have that responsibility. And therefore, I don't have that weight on me.
Mm-hmm.
And now I know for sure that what I did is enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't do more than what I can do.
Right.
So then that came into if that's all I can do, then that must be perfect, at least for right now, because, I continue to grow. But the other thing is that if that's enough, there's no lack attached to it.
Exactly. So now my question would be, if you're willing to give to others, how do you give to yourself?
It's really amazing when I give it to myself. It's just like, oh, wow, this is really fun. And I'm learning more and more to be able to tap into that.
Okay.
And stop and go, when I start really feeling, ugh, I get to stop and look and go, okay, where is it? Is it
Right.
there? Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, and it'll come up, and it's just this kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but it's huge.
Okay, good.
It's absolutely huge. This lightness, this space, and oh yeah.
And just for the other people on the call, I want you to know how much work have you done to get there?
Oh my God, I've been working on that for, let's see, I'm 69 years old.
Yeah.
I've been working on that since before I was born.
Right. So it takes some time to get into that. And that's great that that's where you're at. So, and that is true. It feels effortless at that point. So,
yes.
Okay.
And it also makes me feel that things are going right, correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
Can
worry
I just jump?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You don't worry about where money is going to come from or anything, because it all feels right.
Right. So I want to stick with unconditional love right now. So let's get back on track with unconditional love.
I just had a quick comment there, because you talked about it taking such a long time and we were doing such work with it. And I've been working quite a while, that, about five years now. But it's just so people don't get, depressed on how long it would take, because it could be small stuff too. I did that just today, actually. I was supposed to work out. I didn't feel like it. So I looked at, what is this? Why am I not doing this? Why am I not feeling joy? I had this planned. I'm not taking the action I should. And I took a step back, and my body told me, you need to rest.
Good.
So I went and took a nap.
Right.
And I felt so good while doing it.
Right. And so
let me add
another
this
thing that I want to say.
Let me add a last little. Yes, I've been working on this all my life. However, when I ran into Jennifer, which was 3 or 4 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. That's when I turned a corner, and I found that if I tapped into what she's teaching, and I started doing some of that work, these things, they happen in little tiny pieces in great big chunks, and it's been a huge shift.
Okay.
In the
So
last,
I want to, for the sake of
it can
time,
happen fast.
Yeah. for the sake of time, I want to get back. There's some other questions coming in. So when we're talking about unconditional love, what I really want to do first is get out what you think it is. So what is your definition of it? So somebody says accepting of others, like accepting others for who they are, for what they do, all of those kind of things. That's absolutely right. Unconditional love will never feel heavy or wrong if there are terms attached to it, right? Self-care, absolutely. Unconditional love is self-care. I found that I was giving unconditional love, but not leaving myself open in return for unconditional love. So you're in that space of trying to give unconditional love, but if you're not receiving, then there's something there too. Do you know what I mean? So the one thing that I want to tell you guys, and this is going to just go against everything we just said about how long it takes, I'm going to give you a hint. If you know what unconditional love is, it's that fast. As soon as you choose it, it's that fast. Being freedom from blame, shame, guilt, and expectation. That's exactly right. So here's the thing about unconditional love. If you're in the space of unconditional love, you're completely detached from the outcome. And you can do that instantly as long as you decide it. Okay. Now, again, if you're not sure what unconditional love is, you may need to feel into it a little bit and feel like, what would it be like to have unconditional love? Because if you don't know, if you don't have any reference for it, then it's hard to find it. Okay. So for me, unconditional love goes back to my very first, when I was doing the work myself, was embodied grace. And it's learning how to let go of what others think that you should, right? How you should feel, how you should act, how you should behave, how you should whatever, and really stepping into just actually enjoying every day, giving love without expecting anything back, giving your time without accepting or expecting anything back, giving joyously. But there's some fine line in that, because you've also got to be aware of yourself. If you're giving from a place of, I'm giving this because I have to, or I'm giving this because I'm expected to, or I'm giving this because of whatever, but they never do anything back for me, then you're not in unconditional love. Because when you're in the flow of that, you're receiving instantly from spirit. And so you're giving out and you're not depleted. Now, I will tell you, anybody that says I'm fully in unconditional love all the time is full of shit. Because if they're human, they're not in unconditional love all the time. However, we want to strive to be in unconditional love because we want to learn to love ourselves. We want to learn to value ourselves. We want to learn to value others. We want to learn how to love without my husband having to pick up his damn socks off the floor, right? So there's those kind of things that we're going to live in all the time. It used to make me miserable and pissed and sick and angry because I thought he did it just to be a jackass and not that he literally didn't think about it. So it's those kind of things, understanding that what other people do, probably it doesn't have anything to do with you, right? Him leaving his socks on the floor has nothing to do with him being disrespectful about me having to do the laundry. Like it just, but in my mind, that's where I was like, oh, he's not doing that because he doesn't honor me. He doesn't feel worthy or blah, 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 blah. Like it was all of that stuff. Why? Because in my mind, the thing that I had heard over and over and over are men are lazy and men are stupid and women have to do all the housework. Right? So you guys, let's be totally honest about this shit, because the one thing that drives me crazy is all of these woo-woo teachers who talk all airy-fairy freaking rainbow farts all the time, and they never talk about the hard things about you being human, right? So the good thing is now I've done enough of my own stuff. I've done enough of my own work that I know that if he leaves his socks on the floor, he probably was just tired, right? It doesn't mean that he's trying to be mean to me and make me do more work. It just means he probably was tired. The good thing is too, once I clean up my vibration, those things don't happen as much anymore. Right? So it's really being clear and honest and truthful. And again, I'm all about the woo-woo stuff, and life can be so beautiful, you guys. And I don't have as much of that experience anymore as I used to, but especially if you're at the beginning of this, know that it's going to take a little bit of time to get used to and practice that and understand the feeling of a different vibration. Because if you're where I was 10 years ago, that vibration and the vibration I have now are completely different experiences. Okay. So the more you can want to bring in unconditional love, the more you can feel what it feels to be in unconditional love, the more you're going to bring that in, the more clear you're going to get on what it means. And the more that you can be unconditionally loving to yourself, the easier it is to extend that to other people. Okay, so I'm just going to read some of the comments really quick. So this is really good. Giving and receiving love no matter what is going on or the difference in opinions. That's true. And not expecting anybody else to agree with you, right? Like knowing that everybody can have their own opinion. Patience, hope, trust, and allowing. Perfect. Yeah, I had problems of giving myself unconditional love because I had a feeling of worthiness. I totally get that. I felt completely unworthy for so many different things. And when I finally had my own kind of aha moment, I realized that every time I told myself I wasn't good enough, I was actually slapping God in the face, because God tells us that he makes us, we're wonderfully, fearfully made, right? So every time I was saying I wasn't good enough, I was slapping God in the face saying what he created wasn't good enough. That was my hardcore on the floor sobbing. I mean, I had literally got out of the shower, my hair was wrapped in a towel and I was still in a towel, and I looked in the mirror and I had that realization, and that was my come to Jesus moment for myself about learning how to really truly love myself. Okay. So, let's see. Loving yourself without condition, loving yourself for who you are. Let's see. Sometimes I have wondered if who and what challenges my patience is being for me to work out the micro vibrations. Yeah. So part of that, okay. So here's the thing, Carrie, with you saying that, part of it is our personality, right? Because we're all here. We all have personality. We all have our own little things that are probably going to bug us and trigger us at some point, but is it really that big of a deal, or is it just something that's kind of annoying right now, right? Like if it's totally altering your entire world, then maybe you should look at it. But if it's just like, then.
I had an interesting experience on New Year's where I got triggered and I flared. It was like a match on dry straw, just kind of this emotional meltdown. And what was kind of interesting was how it kind of helped everyone around the situation have to deal with their own stuff. It was like something inside of me was triggered on not feeling respected, which was my gig. And it wasn't the other person's intention at all. It just, whatever. And I kind of knew that, but it hit a inner child wound of some sort that just flew me into a rage. But then again, that's dealing with things like self-respect, and where I had starting to voice my own needs more rather than suppress myself and, put blankets over me so everybody else is going to be healthy and happy. And so I'm finding that there's that season in my life now where I'm not covering myself up so much anymore. I have to step out and so forth. But it was interesting because other people were going, one person was comforting the other person because they felt really bad about it. And they're going, you got to give yourself some grace. And then the other person was going, I'm taking notes because that's what you need to be doing for yourself when you're in situations like this. It was so interesting, the dynamics. I kind of sometimes think that we get triggered or whatever because there is a collective healing that needs to be done. I don't know. So anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Does anybody else have any other questions on that part of it? Like understanding unconditional love and feeling into that and seeing where it's showing up. I don't see any comments on that one. Okay, so then the last part of this was, if you gave unconditional unconditional love to yourself and others, how would it change the way you do life now? And when I say that, I mean like in your daily life, what would change if you were able to just give unconditional love every day, what would look different? Is there anything you can think of that would look different? Okay, so I'm going to challenge you guys to say for yourself, if you were giving yourself unconditional love every day, how would that be different? What would you do differently for yourself?
This was the one that I felt was hard
Okay.
when I couldn't grasp it. I wrote stuff down, but nothing really tangible, just sort of, it would probably, that's how it felt, probably change my priorities. I would
Okay.
probably be kinder to myself.
Okay, so here's a question I have for you, Louise. How do you give love to others? How do you show love to others? Like, what do you do for your kids, your husband on a daily basis that shows you that you love them, or shows them that you love them?
I do stuff. I
Like,
serve them. I cook their food and clean their clothes. Hug them when they're sad. Help them if they want to do stuff.
okay. So if you're to receive love from somebody, what's the best thing? Like, if I wanted to just show you love, what would be the best thing that I could do to show you that I love you?
Ask me if you could help me with something, or offer to help me with something that you saw that I was struggling with.
Okay. So offering help, giving support.
Yeah.
Okay. So the one thing that you could do differently is, if your relationship with your husband is at a place to where you can do that, can you ask him to support you with certain things? Can you tell him that that's how you know that you're loved, is if he offers to help with certain things? Now, the thing is, if you ask for that help, then you have to receive it the way that he's able to give it, right? So a really good example of this is, like, for example, if your kids offer to help you by loading the dishwasher, you've got to let them do the dishwasher. And if it's not in the way that you would load the dishwasher, you've got to just accept it. Just run the dishwasher anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like little things like that. So that being said, what are something that you could do for yourself to give yourself support on a daily basis?
Not be so hard on myself.
Okay, what would that look like?
If I didn't, finish the dishwasher and put all the stuff in there and actually run it.
Okay.
Like, it could wait until the morning.
Right. Okay. So then that's great. And then what I want you to look at is that going to be beneficial, or are you just going to beat yourself up in the morning because you didn't do it the night before? Can you honestly give yourself grace in that moment? So here's what I think I want to do for just a minute is, I want you guys to all take a minute and take a deep breath. And if you have something to write with, I want you to, we're going to do like a little mini meditation right now. So if you gave unconditional love to yourself, what would that look like? I just want you to get familiar. And you know what, let's do this instead. I want you right now to take a minute, and I want you to write a love letter to yourself. So what I'm going to do is give you a couple minutes of some music, and we're going to take a few minutes and write a love letter to yourself. So I love myself because, okay? I love myself because. Okay, did that give everybody enough time? Okay, so when you wrote that, was it easy? Or was it hard? So I'm seeing yeses and nos.
Yeah, mine was pretty easy. It kind of, you know, that writing that you had taught us before, it just kind of like flows out without you really even thinking. That's what mine was. And it wasn't, you know, like you said, I love myself because mine actually started out with Dear Pele.
Okay.
like a love letter.
Right.
And I wrote, I am writing to you to let myself know how much I love me. I love the way I can laugh even though tears are falling from my eyes. I love the way my creative mind happens at the oddest moments. And I love the way that I have become strong against the tidal waves of issues that have happened throughout my life.
Okay, good. Good. Anybody else? So I'm seeing on the other side, I'm seeing easy, impossible, a little bit of both, mostly good. The hard part was finding the place to begin. So yeah, so it's when you do I love myself because, it's gonna also show you how you like to receive love, right? Somebody said it's really hard, it made me cry. That is beautiful, because that's where I was in the beginning. I didn't even know what it meant to love yourself. I felt like it was hard. I felt like I didn't deserve being loved. It brought up a whole bunch of stuff. So depending on where you are in your journey and how much of the quote unquote work we've done to dig into our own self-worth and self-value is going to show us where we can say, I love myself because, okay? And what's really interesting in that is the other part of it is based on how you said, I love myself because I give or do or whatever. Like those are really good clues, because it's going to show you what love is for you and how you express that. Okay. We're all individual. We're all unique. So we're going to have different expressions of what unconditional love shows up as. And again, it's not right or wrong, good or better. It's just what it is. Okay. So one thing that'd be really good, if you guys have never heard of this, is the 5 love languages. And I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but that's a really good way. Okay, so the 5 love languages is like a Christian-based book. And it's, let's see, 5, let me find it. Hold on. It will help you know, there's a quiz that you can take to kind of help you understand the way that you give and receive love. And so it's really a powerful thing. I'll drop it in here so that everybody can see the link. And it's just the 5lovelanguages.com quiz or quizzes. And so if you look at that, it'll kind of help you tune into what love is for you. Because again, you guys, we're all different. So love to somebody, like love to me is probably going to look different than it is to somebody else. And you guys, I kid you not, my kids even laugh. Like if there is black and white, my husband and I are totally, one's black, one's white. Like we are polar opposites. So, and somebody said it changed since I first took the quiz. Yeah. So some of us that learned about this quiz like 100 years ago, it feels like, you'll change as you grow, and as you change, your love language might change. So again, it's time to reassess that, reevaluate what's your true values right now. Right. And again, nothing's right or wrong. It's just where is it for you? Where are you at with it? So, if you were really in the space of being able to truly love yourself in an unconditional way, just what would that look like? What would you need every day? How would you show yourself that you're loving yourself every day? For me, part of showing myself that I love myself is my morning ritual, like my morning time of, and I know it sounds silly and it's not about the coffee. Like I love coffee, but it's not about the coffee. It's about the time that I have, that I take time to like feel into my body and see how I'm feeling for the day. And, you know, do I need to sit for a little while, or can I get right up? Do I have feeling in my feet or not? You know what I mean? Like, I know that sounds silly, but it's taking that time to really be like, okay, where am I at this morning? How am I feeling today? What can I do? And then getting my coffee and doing my my journaling time, my morning routine with my prayer and meditation, like all of those things is part of my morning routine. That's part of how I honor myself, because I've had clients that are pissed that I won't take a call before 10 a.m. And I'm like, I'm telling you, I will not take a call that early, because I would not be what I need to be in that moment if I do it that early, because I'm honoring myself enough to know that that's my time. So for me, that's one of the biggest self-love things I've ever done, is setting my boundary. And I'm lucky right now because I don't have kids. Now, when I had kids, I had to actually set my alarm clock earlier so that I still had time to get up and take my coffee and do the things that I needed to do before it was time to get going. Do you see what I mean? So like now I'm at a space where I don't have to get up till 7, or I don't even have to set the alarm sometimes, right? So I allow myself to get up. But if I had the kid, like when I was back in the day of being the school mom and the PTA and doing the class, you know, I was always the class mom and all of those kind of things. I knew what I needed to do to, if it meant I had to get up a little earlier, I got up a little earlier to be able to still get that time in the morning to let myself wake up. Okay. So, I love myself because I'm able to love others and give freely the smiles and laughter, and share I share the smiles and laughter I share are beautiful. That is awesome. I love that. I love that. You're amazing, strong, loving, giving woman, and I am blessed. That's beautiful. So now take that a step further, and what would that show up as every day? Like how you're giving love to other people and you're loving yourself for that. How can you love yourself just for you? That's a harder question. Right? How do I love myself for me? How do I love myself? Just because I am, just because I'm here, just because I exist, right? And giving to others is fantastic. But also kind of bring that in. The deeper you go into it, the more it becomes personal. And it's so funny because it's all about you, but it's not about you. Like none of it's about you, but it's all about you and the way you filter and the way you do things and the way you show up. So, having permission to do the self-care routines, that's huge. Having permission to do that, right? Because we're taught we shouldn't. We're taught that we need to, you know, do for everybody else instead of for ourselves. But I will tell you that it's really moving forward, especially, it's going to be, we're going to have to look at our own stuff in order to really function. Because the thing that I got the other day on the 2020 like year ahead was the collective mirror is what it's called, my guides are saying. So whatever's happening outside of you, whether that be your husband or whether that be on TV or whether it be in a, you know, a group that you're in or a book club or whatever you're seeing outside of you, what is the mirror that you're seeing back? Because that's going to be, it's really calling all of us to individually clean up our own shit right now. And again, it doesn't have to be hard if you're willing to do the work, which is where radical responsibility comes in. If you're willing to take, and it sounds silly because I know as well as you know that we are not responsible for everything that's happening outside of us. Like we're not responsible for the shit going on in the news. We're not responsible for whatever. But if we could take responsibility for that and that's showing up, what would that mirror to you, right? Where are the wars going on for you in your life? Where is the insecurity going on within you? You know what I mean? And it's on a big scale, and we know that it really isn't about you. But if you can look at what does that trigger in me, where do I get upset about that? Where am I pissed that other people have authority? Where can you take authority for yourself? Right? So like if you can really play into some of these bigger energies that are happening and looking at yourself, then it's going to clear up again, you know, like, so for me, I can watch the news and I'll be honest, it's like I'm detached from it. Like I see what's happening enough so that I can understand where like some of my clients are coming from, or my parent or my family or whatever, you know, because like I know my parents watch the news all the time. So that way I'm in the loop, so to speak, but I usually only watch the news about one day a week. I pick one day where I'm like, I'm going to tune in and find out what's going on. And then that's it. I don't watch it the rest of the time. So, because I don't want that energy affecting me on a daily basis, right? Because this sounds really shitty, but on a grand scale, that stuff doesn't really affect my daily life all that much. and we're very blessed and lucky that in the States, that's the truth. Like, it really doesn't affect us that much. But those of us that can do that, the same thing with the fire. Okay. So like the fires right now in Australia, you can react to that in two different ways. You can react to that and send love to the earth and say, I'm giving love to the earth that it can heal and recalibrate and restructure whatever it needs to do. Or you can look at it and go, I can't believe those people are doing that fire, and it's just terrible. And that what's going to happen is more shit's going to burn, because that's the energy that you're sending. So we've got the option to look at life in two different ways in every aspect of everything that's happening, right? So how can you look at that? And if it's triggering you that the fires are happening, why is it triggering you? How can you look at that more internally of what it's bringing up in you? Is it bringing up in you that you're pissed that people don't take responsibility for themselves? Is it frustrating to you because there's, things out in the world, like, come to find out, a lot of the stuff happening with Australia, if you dig into it, it's not an accident, right? They've been mistreating their bush by putting chemicals on it and not doing the like, I know people get mad, like even in Colorado, there was I can't remember if it was last year or a couple of years ago, people were pissed that they were burning off the fire or burning off the forest. And they're like, anybody who's in any kind of environmental science knows that that has to happen. It used to be that those things burn themselves off naturally, but humans have come in and they don't allow anything to burn anymore. And so now there's no way for that to replenish and heal, because part of forestation is a natural fire would come in and kind of clear some of it out, which allowed for the new growth to come in. Right. So it's about coming to the higher perspective and higher understanding about what's in your control and what isn't, and how you can add value instead of fueling fire, so to speak, especially in this situation. So we can send love to that area and send love to let it heal and work out the way that it's supposed to, instead of trying to control it by saying, no, I'm going to pray for rain. What if you said, I'm going to pray and ask God that the best thing that can happen in the highest and best interest of that area happens. And knowing that you're praying for healing, however that shows up, right? Because I think even in the spiritual community, people get to an ego. I'm going to pray for rain because that's what's going to fix it. Well, what if that isn't the answer? What if in the highest and best interest of that area, it's to allow the burning to go? So that's when you say, okay, I'm asking Jesus and the angels to go in and surround that with love, and that whatever is in the highest and best interest of that land happens, right? And if that's rain, then let it be rain. But instead of trying to control it, let's approach it from that place of unconditional love. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to look again. Okay, so one of the hardest things with self-care and self-love and self-care routines is feeling selfish. That's absolutely true. And I think part of that's just that the times that we grew up in, right? Because we've all probably had moms who put themselves as doormats and they never did anything for themselves. And that was supposed to be, it's kind of martyr in that aspect of it. If you look at it like that, that's kind of the martyr energy. Let's see, once I got married and had children, my parents would say, you can't do that, because it had to be all about the husband and the kids. So, and that's the shoulds and the guilts is what she said, where that started. So that's a paradigm that's on some level you agreed with and took on. So it's about healing that now and letting go of that, forgiving your parents or your father for saying that, forgiving yourself for accepting that, right? Resetting the shoulds. Setting boundaries is huge, you guys. That's the one thing that I know my guides will be bringing a lot more about is the boundaries, because they've been talking to me about breaking the dysfunctional human condition. And there's so much in boundaries, codependency, enmeshment. Like, our human existence right now is so not healthy because there's too many paradigms about taking care of others and what that looks like. And the whole like martyr energy needs to go away. It's done. So, and I like the way people are coming together to support each other and the wildlife unconditionally. That's good. So yeah, boundaries are absolutely huge. Boundaries are going to be really big, especially moving forward. Okay. So we have like 10 more minutes. So the one thing that I want to just kind of recap, and if you guys have questions about how to do this, please let me know. Because it sounds really simple if you've never heard this before. I think probably everybody on here knows that in the Embodied Grace community, if you haven't ever bought my book, you can actually download it for free as a PDF in the group. So in the Facebook community, there's a download that's of my book, and there's 5 steps, and it's decide, practice self-care, have awareness, define it, and then claim it. Okay. Those steps literally can be done with absolutely anything that you want to do in life. So when you decide what it is, so for in this example, if you decide what your goals are, you decide you want to have peace in my life, or if that's what you're looking at is I want to have peace in my life, then you would say, okay, I am deciding that moving forward, I need to have peace in my life. How would I care for myself in order to nurture and allow peace to happen every day? Because if you're not looking at how that would feel to you and what you need to do for yourself to actually experience peace, then you're not going to have it. And then self-awareness, where are the thoughts and beliefs that I have that I can't have peace, right? Then when you define it, what is peace really? Like, what does peace look like to me? How would that show up? How would I feel? What would I see? What would I experience on a daily basis, right? And then if you claim it and take action on it, if you want to experience peace and you know what it looks like because you just defined it, you know what your limiting beliefs are around it, or the thoughts or the paradigms or whatever, because you have self-awareness, you're taking care of yourself on a daily basis to allow yourself to have peace. Then when you claim it, it's what are the action steps that I need to do? Where can I be in inspired action to create peace in my life? Maybe that means that your action is making time every day to have meditation. Maybe peace in your life is taking time every day to sit and look outside the window or go outside for 10 minutes, right? So it's taking the action step of whatever it is that you want to create. So does anybody have any questions on that specifically? On those 5 steps for yourself personally? Anybody? Or does that feel good? Okay. Feels good. Feels good. Okay. All right. So I hope that helps in helping you understand, like, you really do get to create the life that you love. All you've got to do is decide it, right? Decide it, and then figure out, what does it look like? What do I need to do for myself? Where's the self-care piece that comes in, right? Like if it's, sometimes it's how you do the self-care is the way to peace. Sometimes, yeah. So depending on what your goal is. Okay. Now, if your goal is for 2020, I want to go get a new car. Okay. First of all, decide I'm going to get a new car in 2020. How do I care for myself about that? I am going to, give myself a little bit of extra care so that I can work harder. I'm going to give myself 20 minutes in the morning to do workout or meditation or whatever is how I'm going to do self-care so that I can work an extra hour a week. And then that extra hour, the money I'm going to put back so that I can afford the car, right? What is the self-awareness? Where do I believe that I'm not worthy of a new car? Where do I think I shouldn't spend money on a car? Where do I think that car is too good for me? Where do I feel like maybe I don't deserve it? Those kind of things. What's the self-awareness piece about it? Then, the defining it might be going to all the different places and really looking at what are the things that you want in a car. Do you want leather seats? Do you want a heated steering wheel? Do you want a panoramic roof? Do you want a car or a truck? Like getting more clear on what is the definition of what it is, and then claiming it and taking action. Maybe setting up the savings account so that you can put money in there for the car, right? Do you see what I mean? Like you can work those 5 steps to absolutely anything that you want in life. I want a new job. Okay, what's that going to look like? I'm going to decide that I want a new job and I'm going to do that this year. What self-care do I need to do? If I know that I'm going to need a new job, where am I going to need more support? Maybe I need to start adding vitamin C every day so that I have the energy and I can keep myself healthy. Where's the self-awareness? Do I believe I can have this job? Do I believe that I'm good enough for this job? Do I believe I can do this job well? Right? Then it's going to be back into defining it. Okay, if this was the job I want, what are the things I'm going to do every day that would let me have the best experience of this job? Do I answer phones? Do I work completely on the computer? Is it just over the phone? Is it video? Is it just writing a book? Like defining what that is, if that's the new job, and then taking action would be your daily action steps, right? Do you need to put a resume together? Do you need to reach out for other, do you need to reach out to like, what are they called? Like a headhunter. I can't think of what they're actually called. Like a workforce service or whatever. Like, what are the action steps you can take? Does everybody understand kind of where I'm going with that? Like, what are the things that I can do? So if you use those 5 steps in everything, you can pretty much work that with those 5 steps on almost anything that you want in life. Okay. If you want to create a bigger income, decide, I want more money. I want a bigger income. What are the self-care things that you need to know, that you need to do to actually have more money? Do you need to love yourself more? Do you need to give yourself more sleep and rest? Where is it on self-care that you'll need? If you have more money, what would you need to support your body, yourself, to be able to actually receive that new money? Self-awareness. What are my limiting beliefs about money? Do I believe I can have money? Define it. How much money is more money for you? Do you need $800 a month or $8,000 a month, right? Determine and define what more money looks like, and then take action. Claim it. What am I going to do with this new money, right? Where is it going to go? What's the use of it? What am I using it for? What's the purpose of this money? Taking action would be then putting that money into place. Does that make sense? And allowing room for it. Like, do you need a different bank account? Any of those kind of things would be action steps around the money. Do I need to, if I'm going to make more money, do I need to get a second job? Do I need to open myself up to more clients? Do I need to, find something easy that I can do on the side? Like, where is that new money? Like, make way for it to come in. Even though you're not controlling, you wouldn't be saying, I'm going to get a second job and this is the only way I'm going to get new money. Maybe you just do that as an action step to open yourself up to more abundance. Do you know what I mean? So I'm trying to think of all the different scenarios in which that can play out, that of how you can use those 5 steps. So anybody have any other questions on that? Somebody's saying I get stuck on the self-care sections. So the first thing that I would do then, if you get stuck on self-care, then I would determine what is self-care to you. So look at self-care on its own and just look at, I'm going to decide that I want to practice more self-care. So decide you want self-care. 2, what is the self-care? What do you need to do for yourself to allow yourself to start learning about self-care? You know what I mean? Do you need to take a class on it? Do you need to learn how to meditate? Do you need to learn how to do deep breathing? Where can you practice self-care around that? Self-awareness. Where do I believe that I'm not worthy of taking care of myself first? Where do I have those hang-ups that you can't do that and that you've got to put everything on the back burner? Where are those limiting beliefs at? Where can they be healed at? So how you apply any example is going to depend on once you know what self-care is to you, it's going to be a little bit better or easier to then apply it. Because once you know what it means, once you know what nurtures you and makes you feel like you are taking care of yourself, the easier it's going to be to know which practice of self-care makes sense in each situation. Make sense? Okay. All right, ladies, that was a big 2 hours. So it's already 1. So we're there. Does anybody have any last questions before we wrap this up? Okay, I'm not seeing anybody that's saying yes. So I'm going to say thank you all for being here. I appreciate you all very much. I hope this was helpful. And I will get the recording up on Patreon for those of you that have it. So bye, everybody. Thank you for coming on today. And let me know if you have questions, go ahead and put it in the Embodied Grace community group and we'll answer them there. Okay. All right. Love you guys. See y'all later. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.